Okay, let's begin. Okay, anxiety. I'm going to point this out over here. Okay, I wrote it at the beginning of the class and it made a lot of you wonder if anybody's thinking about dropping this class. Okay, what I want you to do, and I understand if you're thinking about dropping this class because this is historically the time when students drop the class most. It's like right now, or they don't show up for the presentation, and it's right after the presentation. What I'm asking you to do is, if that's crossed your mind in any way, or if you know anybody in this class, and you know that they're thinking about this, because a lot of people don't come to me and tell me that they're thinking about this, but if you know this with each other, ask them, and I'm asking you if you're thinking about this, just wait. Even if you think you are not prepared, come and try to deliver your presentation. Give yourselves a chance. Show up. Just show up and do it. Even if you think you're going to die. Okay, because how many of you think that sometimes? All right, so it's not uncommon, and it's not an unknown fact that public speaking is one of the most feared things above death. So, but you can do it. I'm telling you, you can do it. And this is just kind of a fun little thing over there, Toastmasters is a public speaking club. And to let you know, I've never lost anyone. Nobody's ever died in my class. I've been teaching for 10 years. And if we go back and I start to think about like things that people thought, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out. Nobody's passed out. Okay, nobody's gotten sick. So I've seen a lot of things happen. I've seen a lot of people stressed. I've seen a lot of people tell me that they thought things would happen, and it didn't, and they got through it. But what I do see is a lot of students not showing up, and then not recovering from that. So I want to just stress that. Just show up. Even if you think you can't do it, come in here and try. And if you do that, you may prove to yourself that you can do it. Historically speaking, if you get through this first part of class, through this first presentation, your chances of finishing this class skyrocket. So if you, I typically lose a few students. Actually, I used to lose like 30, 40% from the class until I started having this conversation with students before and right after the first presentation. For the persuasive presentation, because it is a little bit more time consuming, it's harder to do. Some students will struggle with that, but it's more likely that they can because they prove to themselves that they can get through this presentation. By the last presentation, the only reason why I have students drop is if it's something, and not the only reason, but most of the time is because there's something completely out of control, like they had something in their family or their life that happened and they just need to withdraw from class. So it becomes less about them knowing that they can do it and more about other circumstances. But for this first one, it's usually just high anxiety and not showing up. So show up. If you're thinking about dropping this class, just wait. And that's what I'm going to ask from all of you, and from all of you that are not present. So if you see somebody from this class that's not here, please talk to them. Okay, so anxiety and nervousness. One of the things that students tell me in my public speaking classes, especially my public speaking classes, and I teach this online as well, is what my goals are for this class is that I want to be not nervous. I want you to be able to take away that nervousness, to show me how I cannot be nervous when I present. Because if I can do that, then I know I'm going to be okay. How many of you thought that? That's the only thing I want. Okay. All right. That's the only thing I can't deliver to you. So you just have to know right away. Nervousness is going to happen. You're going to get nervous. You are going to have an adrenaline dump in your body. It is the most natural thing and the thing that we don't like to feel. That's why we don't like public speaking.
But it's good at the same time.
It can be good at the same time. So there's a lot of benefits to having that nervousness. And I have to be honest with you, there's been a few students that I've had in the past, and I'll ask you, how many of you are nervous? And yeah, it is okay. How many of us are nervous in here? Okay, good. We're raising our hands.
And for something it's gonna happen, like in some spots. So.
Yeah, you're gonna get nervous. Every once in a while, I'll have a student that'll be like, I'm not nervous. Like, really? Do you have public speaking experience? No, but I'm sure I'll be fine. Okay. Those are the students that I worry most about. The ones that don't have any nervousness. Because they don't do well. Because they haven't put in the time. They're not invested in it. So what you're telling me is that this is important to you and you want to do well on it, and that's causing some anxiety. And that's a healthy type of anxiety. Imagine this, 2 people in front of you. They're both you. Okay. You have version A of you, and you've been working on your outlines. From this point forward, you've started practicing your presentation. You've practiced in front of the mirror. You've practiced at the grocery store. You've practiced in front of your dog. And you continually do this, and you are nervous. Okay, and it's right before your presentation. And the other person, you got your outline done, you read it a couple of times, and it's right before your presentation. You're both the same person. It's obvious who's going to do better. So you can take the nervousness off the table. Nervousness is not what makes a person fail this class. It's not what makes a person not do well on a presentation. Nervousness is a part of every presenter. It's not being prepared. That's what it all comes down to. Unlike a writing assignment where some of you can pull an all-nighter and get it all done, and as far as your peers are concerned, you don't see the difference. Public speaking isn't like that. You can't wing the speech. You have to practice for it. You have to put in the time. And people say how much time? It's however much time you need. So there's not a perfect formula for it. It's however much time you need to feel comfortable. So I've told you the one promise I cannot deliver in here. Let's take a look at a couple of things. We'll talk about note cards. We'll focus a little bit more on anxiety, and then we're going to work with each other to ease some of that anxiety with our topics. I'm not sure if we're going to do the speed drill or the pace yourself drill, but I'll make a decision. I'll gauge where you're at. Plus, we need to figure out when we're going to present, which you're going to help me with. Okay. To begin, note cards. A lot of students ask me, how many note cards can I have? You can have as many note cards as you need. I don't put a limit on that. Note cards, use large note cards. 3x5 don't tend to work very well for students. And this is from experience that I have. So those are fine. 4x6s are fine. So if you have those little bitty note cards that are this small, something happens when you're presenting and they're a little bit more difficult to navigate. It's because of that nervous anxiety that happens. Your senses feel a little bit different. Your senses are heightened, and that means that also you may not see very well. So use big note cards. I don't care if you write big, if you print them out. You use these to help you. There are a few things that are better than others, so I'm going to ask that you pay attention to this aspect. When you're writing out your note cards, keep your main points all on the same card. So if I need 2 cards for my introduction, I'm not going to mix my first main point onto this. The very bottom of this will be my transition. That will help me when I am transitioning. So talking about transitions and PowerPoints and body language, this is what it looks like. Now that I've been talking about my introduction, I'm going to move on to my first main point. Okay, I'm talking about my first main point. I'm giving you all my sub-points. Maybe I have a couple note cards here. But now that I've finished my first main point, let's move on to the next main point. Now that I've shared with you these next the last couple of main points, let's conclude. Okay, let them help you with your transitions. The other thing that is helpful is to write on only one side of the card. It's really confusing when you're going back and forth. I see a lot of students get confused with their note cards and like, oh, what side? Okay, that happens frequently when students write on both sides of the card. And the other thing is number your cards. It only takes a second to do. And if you happen to be the person that drops everything, how many of you worry about that? I'm going to drop all my note cards. Okay, it's not a big deal. You just put them together. Here's 1, 2, 3. Okay, they're back in order. I'm good. I can go back and present. Okay, practice with your note cards until you don't need them. And then come up with your note cards. When you present, you avoid this. Avoid holding your note cards like this. Instead, and keep them in one hand so you can open up your body. Students that use both hands, they tend to read the note cards, even when they don't need it. I know they don't need the note cards. The reason why I want you to practice until you can get through your presentation without note cards is when you come up here, that means that you're going to need to just glance at them 1 or 2 times just to keep you on track. And that's more than just dealing with the nervousness. Okay, I've shared with you a couple of pointers on note cards. Does anybody else have anything that helps them when they present?
I like to listen to like some of my favorite albums beforehand, like on the way.
Oh, for anxiety reduction? Okay, okay. We'll talk about how to reduce anxiety. Hold on to that thought. I like that thought. Yeah.
For my last presentation, most of the points on my note cards were like just sub-points on my PowerPoint, so I didn't really have to look at it.
Oh, that's another. If you don't want to use note cards, you don't have to use note cards. Okay, so there's a every once in a while I'll have a student. Are they required? No, but you can't use them. That's fine. I don't want you to use your outlines though. So make sure that you are using. These are more professional. I don't want you to be having an outline or having pieces of paper that are cut up because they just don't look as nice as having a note card. Another idea that you can do, I just happen to think of this, is if you don't want to hold your note cards because you want to open up a little bit more for the presentation, you can line them up here, present, and when you need to look at them, you can look at them. So that's another idea for you. Okay, one last thing about the anxiety or the adrenaline dump. The good news about it is it doesn't last long. Okay, so you think about it, your name's called. Next. Okay. What happens to your heart?
Starts beating faster.
Okay. So your heart either stops or because you're having a heart attack, or maybe it starts beating fast. For most of us, it starts beating fast. Your senses are heightened. Do you hear a little bit sharper? Okay. All right. Your eyes are a little bit different. Colors seem a little bit brighter. That's because your body has done incredible things, and it's saying, you must be in a threatening situation because because they can't tell what's real and what's not when we are experiencing those perceptions. Your body gives an adrenaline dump, and you're next to present. Okay. So what I'm going to recommend is to remember that it doesn't last for very long. You will start settling down after 30 seconds, 30, 45 seconds. You will settle down because your body can't keep up with an adrenaline dump. Your body knows how to take care of this. So when you come up here, you're going to come up, you're going to set up your PowerPoint, you're going through most of the adrenaline dump. You're going to start your introduction, and you're still going to feel those hormones going through your body. So I'm going to recommend you know your introduction really well. By the time you get into your first point, you're actually settling down and into it. So just remember, it's really just for the initial part. By the time you're done with the end of it, you're feeling more relaxed. I'm not saying you're not nervous, but you're just feeling more relaxed. And then when you sit down, the next person is nervous. They're going through the adrenaline. So help each other out with that time, and that's the time where those weak moments will come in, and you might turn into confessional mode. Okay, moving forward. Okay, nervousness. Why do we get nervous? What's the big deal? It's just a speech class. It's just us. Fear of failure. Okay. So this class is important to you. What else?
And if someone like continues to speak like in front of the crowd, that's what we do.
Okay. You don't want all those people. You don't want to speak in front of all those people. We're making you do it. What else are we afraid of?
Embarrassment.
Why are we going to be embarrassed? Who are we going to be embarrassed?
I've had this one time. To go stairs in front of 300 people, and I was about to fall on my face. So something like that.
Okay. All right. So I mean, we can put that literally. Anybody afraid that they're going to trip, drop their cars, that the audience, that we're not going to like what you have to say, that we're going to judge you. Okay. So these are all common fears, and it's and in these two books they talked about actually students like yourself. Your book didn't address this, but students like yourself that are in a public speaking class. These are the fears that come out, and these fears are all common. Fear of inadequacy, it isn't that you're an inadequate person, but can I actually get through this thing? I don't know, I don't have experience in this. So if you know how you react when you're nervous, that's what you can predict here, and how you get through that. That couples with the fear of the unknown. These two are more along the lines of inexperience, so you haven't done it before, and that's why I say you just need to get through this to show that you can do it. The fear of judgments is coming from you as a class. You're afraid that people will judge you. What happens if I trip? Will they think I look silly? Will they not like what I have to say? And this is the reason why we build trust in this class. This is the reason why we work with each other so closely. Because if you think about it and you think about your peers, you want them to succeed. You know each other well enough in here by this time that we're going to be encouraging towards each other. And I have not seen any sign in this class of anybody that I'm worried about, that I would take aside and say, I want you to watch yourself, and I want you to be supportive of each other. I have not sensed that in any way in this class. So that's something that I'm not concerned about as an instructor. The consequences are that you might fail, and that's the fear of me in here. And that's why I try and do everything I can just to show you that you can do it. This is how I'm grading you, so that you aren't surprised by this. And it's okay to miss a couple of points on something. You're looking for the overall message. Are you delivering the message? That's what we're looking at. So knowing these and talking about them doesn't make it any different. So I'm not making this anxiety worse. Now, for those of you that have issues with anxiety, and usually I have a couple people in a class that have legitimate anxiety issues. So it's maybe a condition that they struggle to work through, and it's a pretty common condition. And if that falls under you, or if you think you might have a little bit more anxiety than the next person, I want to bring up a book that I've been reading, and the book is called On Stress, The Upside of Stress. It's called The Upside of Stress, and Meg Gonell is the author. And she states, and she's looked at a lot of studies, and she's done a lot of studies herself, and she states that in the studies with people that have an actual diagnosed anxiety condition, compared to those that do not have an anxiety condition, when they are faced with something, although they feel like they're going to die and then that they can't make it, physiologically they are going through the same thing. So they're not going to die, even though they feel like it. And when they put themselves in those situations, and even though they don't like it, and nobody likes it, so you get put in those situations, they have the same amount of benefits and successes as somebody without anxiety conditions. So even if you do have that, even if that's a real concern for you, whether it's diagnosed or you're just thinking to yourself, I think I have more anxiety than the next person, that the results of it are the same. If you're putting yourself out there and you're doing things, you improve, even if it's uncomfortable. So that's why I wanted to bring that up when you mentioned that is okay. It's really okay. And I know that some of us have more anxiety than others. That's common, but it's also manageable to get through, even if it is, let's say, a diagnosed condition. Okay, now that we've talked about the fears, let's talk about the things that we have complete control over. Lift the part. Okay. It's pretty easy to earn these points. If you look on this sheet over here, there's simple things you can do. Okay. Look nice. Be professional. Look the part. These are simple things. How should your posture be? What does a person that's delivering a successful presentation look like? How do they move their body? Can you do that too? One main point to the next main point. Okay. These are things you can do. If you're worried about pacing, some people pace, okay, then work on planting those feet and only move when you're switching to those main points. I'm going to worry about this less right here because I want to get you through the presentation first. But towards the end of the class, we'll actually work towards more of the presentation styles and using your body that matches what you're saying. So that's going to come later. Let's just get you through the presentation. Okay, prepare. I've already told you about this, so we're going to move through this. Now, again, you have to practice this. Practice it all the time. I'm going to just open this up a little bit for those that have had some public speaking experience. What helps you when you practice? Yeah.
Usually by the time I have to present, everybody will know when I'm presenting. So I keep talking and then I get their feedback and read about it and then talk again and keep doing that till my presentation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Keep talking about the presentations. Keep practicing. The people around you should be sick of you because all you're doing is talking about this topic you're studying. So don't